Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new Invincible review here on Mac Talks Movies. My name is Max Sandberg. Today, we're breaking down season 2, episode 2 of part 1 of season 2 of Invincible on Amazon Prime. We're going to break down the episode, mostly just talk about my general thoughts on the show. We're at the halfway point of part 1 now of the show, so let me know your thoughts. So we're going to please subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie franchise rankings, and every Monday I talk box office. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new, comment down below. What are your thoughts on this new episode of Invincible? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like it more or less than last week? I love having that fun discussion down below. So please subscribe, ring the bell, and comment down below. Like the video as well. The thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. Helps the YouTube algorithm. So the more you guys like the videos, the more it'll be recommended for other new users. So this is, as I said, season 2, episode 2, called In About 6 Hours. I lose my virginity to a fish, which is a very interesting title for this episode. As I said, if you're new, I did an Invincible season 1 review last week, and this is season 2, episode 2. But there are 8 episodes this season, but the 4 are being released this year, and 4 will be released next year. So we only have 2 more weeks of this left. But I really enjoyed this past episode of Invincible. This episode that I'm breaking down today, I had a really good time with this episode. I think they did a really good job with Mark in this episode. I think the Adam Eve aspect of the episode, I think, was my favorite part. Now, we didn't really get Angstrom Levy until the post-credit scene, so there wasn't the overlying threat to this episode, other than, again, Mark is being toyed with of, is he the next Omni-Man or not? We have a lot of subplots now going on in the show. And I think this episode, a lot of them, I don't know if they're going to stick or not moving forward. But this definitely wasn't as much as the bigger picture episode as I think the first episode was of the season, which makes sense. Again, I like the first episode a lot more than this one, but I had a blast watching this episode of Invincible. And let's get into my favorite part of the episode, which is the Adam Eve kind of subplot. So they graduate high school at the beginning of the episode, and Eve wants to help reconstruct Chicago, which obviously made Mark kind of, a bit of an awkward conversation there. But Eve is now going through a lot at home. Actually, obviously has not lived at home for a while. If you've seen the Adam Eve special, which I have reviewed on the channel, and you've seen the first 2 seasons of Invincible, you know that her parents are just not the greatest people, especially her father. And obviously, these are not her biological parents, but these are obviously her parents that she got because her mother died in that special. And her father basically lost his job, and he was the one basically providing for his family. And she can basically turn everything, like if the family needs food, she can, with her magic, get the food. She made an apple, like a 24 karat gold, so they can sell it. But her dad is a very prideful, traditional man in the aspect of he wants to be the one providing for the family. He doesn't want to be handed anything in life. He's working at a burger mart. He wants to put food on the table for him and his wife, and he does not want Eve to do that. And obviously he talks about how all these things that have been, losing him his jobs were also affecting superheroes. I think where he worked was demolished in the Battle of Chicago, which obviously wasn't her. It was Invincible and Omni-Man, but it was superheroes or superhuman things. And he just doesn't like that she's not a normal non-superhero daughter. Never has liked that. Has always thought that she is weird in that way. So that was definitely an aspect of the episode that I really enjoyed. Is that Eve's kind of dynamic with the dad. I think he is not a likable character at all in the show, and this definitely doesn't sway me in liking him. But you really can understand his perspective of he's a hardworking guy. He's worked his whole life for providing for him and his family, and now he lost his job, but he wants to earn that back. He does not want to be given anything, and you can obviously respect that. Now, blaming superheroes and that putting on her shoulders, I think, is very unfair, especially that battle in Chicago with Omni-Man and Invincible. But still, I thought it was a really good episode. I think you can understand both perspectives in the arguments throughout the episode. But he's still a very harsh person, someone that I do not like, and I do want her to kind of stay away from this family as a character. Invincible is going through a lot. He had the opening fight scene at the monument with like the earthquake guy from last season. And he makes it to graduation. He seems pretty positive, but then he is basically on alert in every scene in this episode, basically, where he is kind of having fun, but he is ready to go. Like, he wants and kind of lives now for Cecil to call him in for a mission. And that is not what he should be doing. While, yes, he's going to be outliving all these people, he still technically is a kid. He's graduating high school. He is planning to go to college with Amber. So you think, and we got return of Andrew Reynolds as William also in this episode, which I am very happy with as well. But I think there's a lot of things. And Mark was like, when they were on top of, in Eve's, where she lives, he was on alert. He wasn't paying attention to the conversation. He wanted to surprise Amber and take her to not Paris, but to Vegas, because it's an hour. It takes an hour and your skin would fall off if you try to fly there in an hour. But of course, Mark gets called right back into action. So Mark is basically living now on Cecil making the decision for him. And that was kind of the big theme of the episode, is Mark does need to have a balance of being kind of in control of what he wants to do and also fitting what Cecil is. Because again, Omni-Man was completely off the chains, wasn't really being controlled at all by Cecil. And there does need a point of he is the most dangerous entity on Earth. Is Mark, no matter if he's a good person or not, he's the most dangerous person, and he's the son of someone who broke a lot of people's trust. So you can understand, again, both perspectives, Cecil's perspective, Debbie's perspective on the way they're handling Mark, and Mark trying to do something for his own life and being a kid. Debbie continues to be a mess in this episode. She was selling the house, and there was a really great scene where the people who are looking for the house, the wife was like really excited about the house, but the husband was not, and he talked to her in such an awful way. How he's like, well, if you're the one who puts the money on the table, you can make all the decisions. It was a horrific conversation to see, and it's sadly a very real conversation that we see today, and that's why the authenticity of this scene. And then Debbie kind of whispers, she's not your pet, which obviously references Omni-Man calling her that in the season 1 finale last year, 2 years ago. So Debbie's going through it. She just breaks down a lot, and Mark was finally there for her at the end of the episode. She also went to talk to Cecil. She's like, you can't just control Mark. Mark does need to have his own life. And Cecil, again, is right where he says, Mark is the one who came to me, and I'm putting him in the right situations. He's like, I know he's going through, I know the situation. I'm not going to just throw him out there in these super dangerous situations. He goes to a situation which I didn't really love, the scene with the underwater scene where there's like his dad was like a king. I wasn't like a huge fan of that sequence. The other subplot was Ben Schwartz's now debut on the show, who I just love Ben Schwartz both on screen and obviously off the screen as a voice actor. But he plays Shapesmith, and Russ, he's that was part of the subplot last season where they went to that alien planet, and one of those infected things took over one of the humans, and that became Ben Schwartz as the alien. And he realized that he wants to try to sneak his way, and because of Martian Man, who was one of the original members of the Army Club, he thinks he has hope to be a superhero in this society, that he can be accepted. So he's currently in his human form, but we'll see if Shapesmith becomes a factor. You have Immortal sleeping with Duplicate, which is not helping Rex Explode out at all. He does not like that. But the post-credit scene, I think we're in a different universe. We see Mark kind of being hung up by, he's in a prison, and Angstrom is talking to him, and this is clearly a different Mark. And Angstrom, I think, wants to destroy all of these Marks in all of these universes. So it seems like his goal, I think we should have seen a little bit more of him in this episode. He was so heavily featured last week. And I get we're trying to like lightly, there's so many other subplots in this episode, which I totally understand. But I think moving forward, it would be nice to see Angstrom in the show a bit more. But as I said, it's a really good episode of Invincible, really solid episode. Really good themes here. The show is very authentic in its teenagers with Mark and especially Eve, and that they're both going through a lot of different things in their lives with parents. And also they're graduating, they're not, kids anymore. They're going to college. So the really good aspects of this episode. I didn't love all of the action scenes. I just didn't care about the earthquake guy, and I really don't care about the underwater fight scene that took up a lot of the episode. But still, this is one of my favorite shows ever, so I'm just all in on this show. We have 2 more episodes now, sadly, left before we take a bit of a break before we get the second half of these episodes sometime next year. So That's my thoughts on Invincible Season 2, Episode 2. Also, let you know for programming, though, I had done these first two spoiler breakdowns on Saturdays because I have spent my Fridays doing Loki reviews, but now because Loki is done, the next two Fridays you'll get my breakdowns of Invincible instead of Saturday. So stay tuned for next Friday as I'll break down episode 3 of Invincible. So thanks for joining me on this video. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys.